Welcome. Welcome, everyone. This is the first monthly live. And if you're watching this on replay, that's fine too. You can just share your questions in the comments below. And I wanted to start off with this first monthly live with something that is quite real rather than something that is polished. Because over the last 21 days in the month of February and March, actually, I put myself through some shadow work, through some journaling, not as the facilitator, but as somebody who is being facilitated, because I was feeling the need to uncover some of the limiting beliefs, some of the resistance that was coming up as I step into the next role in my life, in my personal and professional life. And what I'm about to share with you is not a framework presentation, it's something that actually happened. And some of what I will share with you is also a bit tender because it's so real and it's something that is recent and something that I'm going through. So I'm choosing to share this because I believe that the most honest thing that I can offer you is not a method, but it's what the method did to me. And that's what today's live is all about. If you're watching this live, I would love to hear from you. Drop in the message below with your name and where you're logging in from. And even if you're watching on replay, you can always share your questions. And I wanted to start right at the beginning. When I started, it was with the physical sensation because I was laying down some goals for myself, some things that I want to achieve in the years to come. As I said, it's the next evolution in my work. And at that time, I remember writing down on day one, this was February 26th to be exact, day one in my journal. And I am a big believer that when you write down, you can actually put down your thoughts. It clears your mind and it helps you to process your emotions as well. And I wrote down that it was unreachable. I had set a big goal for myself in the next couple of years and the years to come. And it felt unreachable. And the exact words I used were unreachable and exciting. This was day one. But as I moved on and I was doing this journaling every single day in a particular structure, following a particular structure, the shift moved from being unreachable to inevitable, right? And this inevitable happened across days 12 to 14. So basically, it took about 2 weeks to shift from this was a safety check that I was doing in myself using my own body, the somatic connection that we have. And the body holds a lot of inner wisdom. This is one way of accessing that wisdom. And the progression happened gradually over 12 to 14 days. Day 12 was possible, not urgent. Urgent. Day 13 was possible, almost inevitable. And day 14 was the full arrival. Inevitable because who can stop me? And when you realize the power that you have inside, it takes time sometimes to come out over layers of years of keeping it covered, especially as women, because we are conditioned from a very young age to actually typically be the we are nurturers to keep the peace. We carry a lot of the emotional baggage in our families, so it a lot of our actual power, the way what who we are, gets buried underneath layers, and especially over decades of life. And so that uncovering takes time. And I've been doing this work for a while, but this was sort of the culmination of that. And then this on days 20 and 21, I reached there was when I tried to uncover what fear was coming up for me. And there were fears every single day till then. On days 20 and 21, then I realized there was no fears that were left. It's like you reach the ground and there's nothing that you need to, go towards anymore. And this floor was confirmed twice. And I could feel it in my body. It's not something that I just said for the sake of saying it, but I could feel it. And see, this is what the safety check is actually designed to serve with. It's not about reassurance. It's about the lived experience of discovering your own floor, like the pit at the bottom of it all, right? Because from there you can only go up, and you know it in your body that this is the floor, and there is nothing else below it. And that's exactly what I felt on days 20 and 21. This was a 21-day journey, and it's a lot of things have changed since then, but I'm just sharing a few things because I think it's going to help you to uncover who you really are at the core and some of the other things that may come up with it. And the other thing that happened is, I have a strong tendency to belong, right? We are social animal. And I realized that I've spent so much time trying to belong to the functional medicine community as a health coach. as a practitioner. That's my work. So that's very specifically for me. And there's a difference between fitting in and belonging. And I worked really hard to belong. And it made sense because I wanted to be sort of addressed as a peer, which I am now. I am developing coaching modules. I actually teach health coaching to now other practitioners. So I've put in a lot of time and effort. But on day 7, I wrote about my father's death at the age of 12. I wrote about the peacekeeper pattern that sort of came up for me, that I have kept the peace for almost 37 years. Because when my father passed away, things were so difficult. My mother was in so much of distress. I had a younger brother who was only 6, I was only 12. And I realized that, I need to find a way to keep the peace and to sort of, not sort of move things around a lot. It was already as if the floor had shifted beneath my feet. And, but then that day 7, I realized that I'm not even sure I need that room anymore. The one that I had tried so hard to belong, because this is the next phase. As I said, this is evolution. And it deepened on day 8 when I realized that I'm actually at the intersection of healing and technology. And it's similar to someone who is actually at the intersection of spirituality and AI. And that's exactly what I'm moving towards, in the sense of, it's a very unique combination. And this is so day 11, day 12 came about, and I was actually scared of losing belonging to the community, because as I said, I've worked so hard and at being a part of it. And I realized that I don't know where I belong anymore. And but with that fear came the clarity that it was time to build my own room, right? So, and it's always that transition is always always very scary, because you neither belong here nor do you belong there. And it takes a while, and both are present simultaneously. So while I don't fit here anymore, I don't even have a room to right now, but I'm moving towards that. And day 12, that shift actually sort of shifted. Things shifted noticeably. And because I realized that the belonging is contingent on me staying small, and I'm not willing to do that anymore, right? It worked earlier because that's who I was and that's who I wanted to be. But as I move, as I grow, and as I want to scale and I want to reach more people, I want to help more women, it is now contingent on me staying small, and I'm not willing to do that, because belonging wounds do not heal by, finding the right group. They heal when you stop outsourcing your home or outsourcing what you need to sometimes build. And that's what I realized. And it also brings out another thing, which is the sense of identity, like who we are as a person, who you are as a person, right? I mean, it's uncovering really who you are beneath it all. And day 8, the direction became clear. Day 8 was the intersection that, when I talked about the intersection of healing and technology, and healer who codes in a way, and every cell was in alignment when I wrote that. So remember, this is a ongoing sort of shadow work journaling that I created for myself, for my specific situation, based on my wounds, based on my fears, based on my needs. But you can do that too. And as I did that, I could see, I mean, I when I look back, I can see the progression. At that time, I was too deep in it. It was not easy, and I had to be honest with myself. But day 21 is when that identity sort of clearly arrived, and I could actually own that I was the architect of compassionate and somatic AI, artificial intelligence, because that's exactly what I have built. There is the effortless healing companion, which is going to help women, which is helping women with nervous system regulation to finally hear, to create a space so that they can finally hear what their bodies have been telling them all along. And the naming completed what my body had felt for the last 2 weeks. Right? It took so much of time for what I felt in my body to finally be named, and it took almost 2 weeks to shift to reach there. But when I did, when you have the identity to name, to for a name for your identity, then the decisions become easier, your energy changes, your capacity changes, everything changes. And that's what I can see. A lot of the changes are external as well now, and I'm doing it not to please anyone. I'm not doing it to rebel. I'm not doing it to for anything else apart from that. It's something that I just feel like doing. So whether it's the temporary tattoo on my neck that you can see, okay, this side, that you can see this side, or the darker polished, that some of these things which have changed, it's just identity that has sort of become clearer. Shadow work doesn't just surface wounds, it actually surfaces identity. And it's sometimes because what is only hiding in the shadows, it's not just pain, it's who you actually are. And that gets uncovered in beautiful ways that you may not be even be able to think about. And the entire thing, the entire mission that came about, it started with something very personal, in the sense that I was talking about setting certain goals, and this is what I want to achieve, and this is what I want to do in 2 years. And all that is fine. It's very important. But it kept changing. It kept evolving. And that's the beauty of doing something like this. So on day 5, which is March 3rd, my children came into the picture, in the sense that, I was actually scared, afraid of the world, and I wanted to do something about it, because it's a world that my children are inheriting. It's a world filled with AI and other things, and it's going to really change in the next few years. And I was determined to be at the forefront of, doing something to help them to adapt to it. And I'm doing that right now. But it was a significant moment, because uh, the inhibitions, my fears, a lot of it sort of got cleared, because the self disappeared and the mission arrived on the same day, right? And when you are working towards a mission, the mission is far greater than any fear that you could possibly have. And the day 11, something else happened, that humanity and AI is moving much faster than what humans can cope with. So that's the other thing that came up for me. And the window is quite limited for, when we can actually make sure that AI is something that benefits humanity and just doesn't, overtake us completely. And AI is very different for what humans have evolved to cope with. So I am very clear on that. I embrace technology. I love using tech. I've been using it in many different ways. And so I wanted to make sure that I bring that expertise, that knowledge, and create something, not only create a product or, a community for women, but also at the same time teach others how to harness the power of AI and, collaborate in different things. So there are many things that I have planned. And of course, the specific population that I want to work for, that I want to serve, is women currently. It might change in the future, but it didn't arrive late. It was always there. But what changed across those 21 days of shadow work was the scale behind it. That completely changed. And I always knew who I was building for, but what it revealed was the full weight of why it mattered. Right? It basically cleared the space, cleared all the clutter between what I think I should do and what I am actually here for. Like, I'm here to do this work. This is my gift. This is my life's mission. This is what I'm good at. These are my strengths, and I'm going to do it no matter what. Who can stop me? So that was the kind of energy that came about. And when I started this, on the first day, I had no clue as to how it would go. I sort of just went with it. I went with the flow. It took 21 days. There were 4 movements, that I used to go through, that I took you through, which I did every single day. I actually also used Oracle cards on many of the days towards I think from the second week onwards. The first week, I was just sort of trying to figure out where I was, finding my feet. But the second week onwards, I started writing down, using Oracle cards. I love Rebecca Campbell's cards, and I have 4, 5 decks, and I use them not as to tell me what to do, but it's more of, them sort of, it's a somatic prompt for me. Like, it guides me to my own body, and that's what gives me the answers. It's not that I know everything, but it helps guides me back into my body. And one thing, and I didn't script it like this. I just kept doing the work. I did not know how many days. I actually had given myself 30 days to, in the beginning, but in the end, it was 21 days, and it was complete, and it felt complete. And finally, out of that, 21 days, last week, I ended up finishing a poem. It's called The Peacekeeper, and who became an architect, right? It's what's published on Sunday, and I can share the link. And it was the only way I could say what I needed to be said about where I came from and what I'm building. Right? The peacekeeper can finally rest, and the architect is who I am right now. If you haven't read it, I'll share the link below. You can read it on my Substack. And there's one founding member inside the Effortless Healing Companion right now that I talked about, and I've been talking about in my posts. If you haven't read it, Again, it is there on my Substack, and I'm watching what I actually build. I'm watching what I build actually work, right? It's already working. That's a different kind of knowing. There's a long way to go. I have the launch coming up, the actual launch coming up in August. So if anything in this journey, in this arc resonated with you, hold on to that. If you haven't subscribed, if you're watching this, most likely you have subscribed. But if you haven't subscribed to my Substack publication, Healing from Within, do that, because I will be holding these monthly lives. I will be answering your questions. If you're watching this on replay, you can still reply to me. You can share your question, and and then I can answer that. And yeah, and I'll be here again in a few weeks' time. I'll tell you when I'll be doing the next live, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Write to me. You have my Substack links. I'm going to share the poem below, and I will see you again soon.